Rest halhat besia bisen kusqeli hulemlemtschlup. Bisen il pilspes kwesen tepks so nu guest good lemlemch. Welcome to the Indian time. I hope that you're all well. This is the month of September, or Schlipspanis is time that people go out and start gathering, getting ready for the winter months, for the food supplies. So it's a very important and busy time for a lot of the people who are here. A lot of the people that we don't realize, but a lot of people still continue to gather the medicinal foods and the plant and food plants and animals for winter months to help survive through the cold months that are coming. And I hope that a lot of you have had time to get out there and get your berries. Stisha's already all drying up, and so I hope you got a lot of your berries. Some of the people, some of the elders went up to get some husks yesterday, and it was just real good right now. The husks is big and it smells good. I got a bunch in my office, and you can come down and visit me and you can smell it. But a lot of that husks is used for the sore throats. A lot of the drummers, the singers like to use it because it helps keep their throats fresh. So a lot of the medicines will need to get out and get now before it's too late. Today, some of the things that I want to remind people of is coming up on September the 13th, which is a Sunday, is the annual pilgrimage that we have down at Stevensville. The annual pilgrimage is a time we go back to the Stevensville area to honor and to pray and to respect those ancestors that are still down there in the Aboriginal territory. Also, on the 14th, next coming up is the what we call the P.I.R. Day, the public instruction-related day for the teachers. It's an opportunity for the tribes to share with the teachers the resources that we have to help educate our children about the people of this area. The topic that we were talking about today, we want to talk about today, is Native American Awareness Week, which is coming up, which will be this week. The activities will be on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So my guest today is Germaine White from the Preservation Office, who will be heading up this, and she will be here she's here to let you know what the activities are and what to expect, I guess, for especially what takes place on this day, or in these 3 days especially. It's a very busy time for a lot of the teachers, children, and the staff over there at the Pupil Center, and those that are involved that participate. I would like to give you the 3 place names. I'm going to give you 3 place names today for this show. One of them is Instructional, which I was going to give you last show, but I forgot. Instructional is what they call Racehorse Gulch down there by Perma. It got its name according to Pete Beaverhead from the wild horses that used to roam this area, and they would run down these draws and run through these areas, and so they called that Instructional. The other one is Instructional, which means relating to small rooted area. And this is what they call Vandenberg. It's one of the names. That's what they call Vandenberg Creek. Or excuse me, not Vandenberg, but Magpie Creek. This is what they call Magpie Creek. The other name they call Magpie area is Patsqisa'ah, which is who lived in that area. The other one is in Sept, and that is Rive Creek area in Sept. And that is relating to the story that P.I.R had also said, that as you go along the creek there and you see the trees that were along the creek, and the roots were, the water that came through would bear a lot of these roots, and you would see all the roots coming into the creek. And that's when you describe it, and you describe it by saying in Sept, so that's how it got its name. So those are the three place names that we're going to share with you this show, and I hope you remember all the other ones, because I'm going to give you a test someday. Today my guest is Germaine White, as I said, and we want to talk about Native American Awareness Week, and the activities that are going to take place, and what this is all about, and what we hope to get out of it, I guess, what we hope to relate to through this process. And I don't know how long exactly it's been going on, but I'll let Germaine explain, and let her explain some of the things that are going to take place. So I'd like you to welcome my guest today, Germaine White.
Thanks, Tony. I'm delighted to come today and visit a little bit about Native American Awareness Week. We're going to be celebrating that at the Pupil Center September 18th, 19th, and 20th. We're going to begin each day at about 9 o'clock. From 9, we'll have a morning session and an afternoon session. The morning session will go from 9 until 11. The afternoon session will go from 12:30 until 2:30. We're inviting all reservation area schools, and this year we're inviting grades 3 through 8 to come to the Pupil Center and bring their students. And we've been recruiting lots of help from across the across tribal programs, and we have language teachers from both Salish and Kootenai Culture Committee. We have storytellers that we hope will be there. We have a couple of hide tanners that are coming to have a hide tanning demonstration. We have a bead worker and someone that's going to help with bead working activities. So the demonstrations this year will be on beading and feather work, and hopefully we'll still be able to capture maybe one more. We'll also have the ever popular traditional games, and we'll give students an opportunity to play stick game, hoop and dart, shinny, and double ball. We've also invited Kicking Horse Job Corps, and they're going to bring their drummers and singers, and I'm just delighted because this year they have a wonderful drum group, and they've also generously offered to make fry bread for all of the students, so the students will be able to have a little food sample as well as participate in the activities, the doll making, the beading, the feather work, and look at the demonstrations and participate in the educational activities and play traditional games.
Good. A lot of this information that you will be seeing is something that I guess although we do that as a demonstration today in many cases, but that's part of life as excuse me, as Native Americans lived in the past. We still continue those things, hoping that that they will be revived by our younger generations. These were activities, and these were things that were done that was a necessity to our survival. Learning how to prepare food, and a lot of those foods, and how to prepare them, to store them. A lot of the games were used today, are played today for fun. In many cases, a lot of the games that were used and played in the past were part of developing skill for survival for the young people. So there's a lot of, although it's fun today, a lot of those things that are done were something that was a necessity to the survival of the Native American people, the Salish Pend Oreille people. And so this is very, I think, is to look at these activities, but to look beyond them. And Germaine, do you have any idea how long this been going on?
For as long as I can remember. I know that for a number of years before the Pupil Center opened its doors, the Salish Culture Committee hosted schools at the Longhouse. So this has been an activity that the tribes have been participating in for a number of years, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity for area schools. It's a time when the tribes open their doors to the public and invite local school children to come in and, as you said, participate in traditional games and cultural activities. I remember at one of the earlier Native American Awareness Day activities we had at the Longhouse, the elders talked about how the games taught not only, as you said, endurance and strength and were great fun, but games had a specific purpose. Hoop and dart, you start with a round hoop and you roll it along the ground, and you take a sharpened stick that acts as a spear, and you try and hit the hoop in the very center, and you hit the target. And this was clearly a game in preparation for hunting. The elders said that this taught good hand-eye coordination, how to strike a moving target. And it's pretty clear that I think the relationship between these games that, as you say, we now play for fun and preparation for cultural activities were all together. And so once again, we're opening the tribal door to the public to come and participate in cultural activities.
Do you have any idea about how many students you're going to get, or?
You know, every year the number varies some, but I've spoken with Arlee School and Polson School. They responded very quickly, and I think Polson School brings about 1,000 kids, third through 8th graders, and it's my sense that it's a couple thousand students that come in the 3 days and participate.
Okay. How do you set up over there at the Pupil Center? How was it set up?
This year we're trying to organize it a little more so that we have stations. We'll have areas where each of the games will be played, and we'll have a variety of stations. The other thing that that we're changing this year is that we're having an elders hospitality center, and we're putting up a shade and some picnic tables, and we're inviting elders to come. We feel that their participation in just supporting us and being there and seeing maybe their children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren provides them an opportunity to maybe help in some of the activities or observe the activities, and a social time for them as well. That's one of the changes we're looking forward to this year.
Not only that, but I think the elders, for years we look at them for guidance and doing the correct things for for many different things. So they're an important part of all the things that we do. So we'll talk a little bit more about the games and the events coming up right after this break.
In the past, people were raised with respect for each other and the role of sex in Indian society. Today, the consequences of sexual behavior can be serious. They can even kill you. Please know the facts. Be safe. The family is everything. HIV/AIDS is preventable. This is real life, and it has real consequences.
Welcome back to Indian time. First of all, I want to make some corrections here. I think I made some mistakes on some of the dates that I mentioned earlier. On the 13th of September is the annual medicine tree trip, not the pilgrimage. So the 13th is the annual medicine tree trip. This year we're going to go on a Thursday. Usually we go on a Friday, but we're going to go on a Thursday this week, mainly because the next day, Friday the 14th, is a P.I.R. day being held at the Polson School. So that's the reason why we are having our pilgrimage on the 13th. And then the Stevensville, the annual Stevensville pilgrimage is in September the 23rd, which is a Sunday, September 23rd. The annual pilgrimage to the medicine tree is not annual, we go twice. We go once in the fall and once in the spring to go down there to pray and to do some of the things that our elders have traditionally done for many, many, many years. And that tree is approximately getting close to 400 years old. It's dying. We've discussed this before, so that there's some decisions that we have to make on the medicine tree itself. But we'll talk about that at another time. As I said today, my guest is Germaine White from the Preservation Office, and we are here discussing the Native American Awareness Week, that are taking place over at the Pupil Center. We talked a little bit about some of the events that are going to take place, and my understanding, Germaine, is there are going to be some stations set for different groups, right?
Yes, we've invited grades 3 through 8 from all of the local schools to come, and we've set up a number of stations so the kids can participate in activities and games, and they can observe some demonstrations, and they can hopefully we'll have a little sample for them to take home as well.
Okay. Have you made arrangements? Have the schools made arrangements with you, or how does that work to make that connection, to make sure that it's not total chaos when they start getting?
Exactly. We've scheduled morning and afternoon sessions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 18th, 19th, and 20th of September. We sent out a letter of invitation to all of the schools on the reservation, and we've asked them to call and schedule a time. So far, Polson has called and they've scheduled Thursday, so we have plenty of time on Tuesday and Wednesday for schools to call the Pupil Center at 675-0160 to make arrangements or to schedule a time for their school group to come for a morning or afternoon session at the Pupil Center.
Okay. Tell me again, what times from 9 o'clock to? From
9 o'clock until 11,
okay.
And from 12:30 until 2:30 are the morning and afternoon sessions. And this year we're going to ask that the teachers and the volunteers stay with their groups, and that they all participate in the activities as much as possible. We're going to try and minimize kids running from station to station. We want them to all of the students that come to really have the advantage of making doll making, or making a small beaded project, or we certainly want them to queue up in line and have a sample of fry bread as well. So if we can, we're asking parents and teachers and chaperones to stay with their groups and plan to be there for either a morning or afternoon session, so that we can make sure that all kids, all of the area students, have an opportunity to participate in each of the exhibits and activities.
Okay. Is there are the stations going to be marked? Or are you going to have some kind of handouts or something to help direct or guide the students and the teachers to these areas?
We're preparing those materials now, And we're also going to have 2 people greeting the buses when they arrive and providing teachers with a packet of information so they have a sense of where each of the activities and stations will be. We're preparing that now to have available for teachers.
Okay, so that sounds very good. So you've done this before, right? You've been involved in these activities before, so you know how chaotic it can get without specific directions or information, right?
We're hoping that we can have a program that's a little more, that's organized this year, and we're looking forward to having lots of students come by and participate in activities, and we hope that it will run as smooth as can be possible, given the fact that we'll have thousands of kids in the building and primarily outside of the building.
Now earlier you explained the hoop and dart game, I guess it was. Can you explain any other games, how they work and what to expect?
Shinny, of course, is my favorite, and Shinny is played with 2 teams, and each team has a stick that kind of looks like a small version of a hockey stick, and there's a buckskin ball that's about this big generally, that's stuffed with deer hair or buffalo hair. The ball is pushed along the ground with a stick, and 2 sides try to go to an end point on either end. And it's a running game, and it's another one of those games where you have to have really good hand-eye coordination and be able to maneuver a ball by pushing it along the ground to a particular goal. One of my favorites. I think we've played Shinny before, Tony. I think
yes,
that
I understand why they call it Shinny.
you just keep your stick on the ground and we'll be just fine.
What about, and now I understand, was it last year or maybe it was another event where they had this, it's a new version or a new game that they started to call it the screaming game?
Run and Scream.
Run and Scream.
Yes.
And what is that?
Run and Scream is one of the games that folks here have begun as a consequence of all of the intertribal sharing at traditional games. And it's a wonderful game where a student or the participant runs and screams as far as they can and still have breath to scream. And it's a wonderful game. And it's another one of those games that teaches people to have endurance and to be able to sustain strenuous physical activity and still, it's about strength and endurance.
It's building your breath, building the strength.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Building the strength of your breath so you have long endurance in races. It's a kind of foot race.
And most kids today don't have that problem, I don't think, right? So what else you have that you know?
We have doll making. That's been very successful in the past, and we're going to make Yaya dolls. And Patty Stevens from Housing Authority has a ton of beads, maybe not literally a ton, but she has many beads, and she's going to bring those over and help students make bracelets, make necklaces, and that will be in conjunction with a beadwork demonstration. So there'll be things that the students will have that they can take home with them.
Great. And those are some things that, like you mentioned, the doll making is something that, in the past you couldn't go to the store to get these things, so you had to create and make your own toys or whatever you want, or whatever you want to call them, for the young, for your young children, young people. And as I've heard in the past also, people talk about, making necklaces, making bracelets, and those are ways, I think, that I've heard in the past as ways of an opportunity to express yourself. The colors that you use and many things. I know in the past where prior to the way we travel today, the opportunities were not as great getting from one place to another. So most of the tribes utilized the material that was in their area, so the colors may vary. The materials may vary in those areas, so they say that many years ago, if you see another person, just by the colors that they had, just by the way they dressed, you knew what tribe they were from. Mm-hmm. So when they're going through this and playing around, you know, it's something that they need to remember, I think, is that it is something that, although we don't think about it today, but where it came from, you know, how it got started and why these things are like that. Yeah.
I think it is about continuity of culture. We've really tried this year to focus on traditional cultural activities and traditional cultural events. We've narrowed it down to those kinds of activities and events. When I was a little girl, I remember many of the older ladies had a single string of beads, either as a bracelet or a necklace. Many of the women and many of the men as well. And they were very beautiful decorations, and they would choose the spacing of the beads and the different colors as personal expression, and we're continuing that cultural practice now.
Okay, well, thank you, Germaine. We're out of time again. We're just getting into something here, and then we run out of time. I want to thank you, Germaine, again for your time. You're going to have a very busy time coming up, I know, and I know my program, some of my staff will be there to help with what's going to take place. Some of the elders have said they will be up there. So for you teachers that watch or can hear me, for the students that can hear me, please ask questions. This is an opportunity to learn a lot about the people in this area. With that, I would like to say,